Second? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, no, wait 1 second. Ms. Hutchinson, please share the comments for the evening.
So the Board of Education has asked me to essentially make an announcement about the requirements of masks in school buildings. It's applicable to school board meetings, and if individuals do not want to wear a mask, they have access to the meeting via the live streaming that's occurring now. If there is continued non-compliance with wearing masks, the board, by consensus, has determined.
I don't know that we have a consensus, because I know, that was the problem, Lee. I'm not a yes. I'm not a yes for going live stream.
The meeting is already live streamed. It's being live streamed right now.
No, but you're asking to keep the community out.
Asking that, well, I'm not asking anything. I'm asking what the board would like to do in the event individuals continue not to wear masks during the meeting.
I personally would just like to kindly ask people to wear a mask if they can, just because we're trying to follow the mandate in the schools. But the idea that we're going to tell people if they don't wear a mask, we're going to, and it's not against you, Lisa, I know that you're just being told by the board president, but we don't have a consensus, I don't think.
No, we don't have a consensus. We're just asking that you guys do what the guidelines state, and that is in school buildings. Unfortunately, we have to wear a mask too, and we're asking kindly if you guys could wear a mask as well, that's all.
Agreed.
No, that's fine. It's completely up to the board, because as you know, the non-compliance with the mask mandate could lead to fines $1,000 per incident. Thank you.
So I guess not everyone is in compliance this evening? So we'll just wait.
So Lisa, does this apply to community members or just students?
It applies to all individuals, visitors, community members who are in school buildings.
It says that school buildings may be used for community-related activities where students are not present. The guidance herein does not apply in such situations. That's from New York State.
Right, and right here, students are present. It's a school. There are students present. Masks are required.
Is that what you just asked? Is it that the students
Is it that we have to exclude present? I'm just asking, is that what it says?
It just says masks are required in school buildings. Period. At all times.
And you want to repeat that, Lisa?
The regulations state that masks are required in school buildings at all times.
I don't know, I guess they're asking my children. Yeah, my 7-year-old. That is the lawyer that's talking.
Don, can you please come here for a moment?
I didn't see it, tell you that much. Making any progress here or what?
No, just hanging out right now.
Doing what?
Finding the mask compliance.
So what does I have on? Last month?
Guy in the corner.
This is like so ridiculous. Because they have to be
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence for our military. Thank you. Will the district clerk please call the roll?
Yes, we have Mr. Kohler-Hefar,
Present.
Mrs. Hutchinson, Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno,
Present.
Mrs. Augulus,
Present.
Dr. Adams. Present. Mrs. Kennedy,
Present.
Mr. Murphy,
Present.
Mr. Hauser.
Present.
We also have Ms. Santo joining us,
Present.
and myself, Ms. Kemp, the district clerk. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any changes? Okay, make a motion to approve the minutes from August 24th, 2021 board meeting. Motion? Anyone wants a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion so carried. Okay, we're going on to discussion items. Facilities Advisory Committee, project scope.
Mr. Hauser will introduce.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes, good evening. So as part of the Facilities Advisory Committee, we're going to introduce the idea of a potential new capital project. And we have invited our financial advisor for the district, Mr. Michael Lagorcio, to speak about the district's current situation with outstanding bonds and the future projections should the district decide to go forward with the new capital project. Welcome, Mr. Lagorcio.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Again, I'm Michael Lagorcio. I'm the district's municipal advisor, and we help the district borrow money for their capital projects, short-term notes such as tax anticipation notes, and also we assist the district in filing their annual disclosure filing that is required by the SEC. Do we have the on the screen? Thank you. Basically, I'm not, there weren't a lot of details for the project. Basically, Bob asked me to come here, exactly what he said. It was just to touch base on where you are and possibly, what a $50 million project would do to the debt service. Basically,
Okay.
when we were in discussions
Personnel?
where we were trying to kind of backfill the
Recommended?
debt service that was coming off. So basically, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have
It's instructional.
5 bond issues that are outstanding, all but the $8,350,000 have been refinanced already, and there's not many years left on those. And then we just did, this year, in April, we did an EPC. That was $21,240,000. So we did that. We also did a ban because the district is actually doing a capital project at this point in time. So we did a ban for $18 million. The whole project to be bonded is about $36 million. So if you're looking at that chart, where it says 18 million ban issue, that's what we issued this year. The debt service comes due next year. That's $225,000. And then we have in the current total debt service, you can see how the debt service starts falling off in the 2025 year there. It starts going down. It goes from 9 million to basically almost 6.5 million, and it goes down to 2.8 million. So we're trying to backfill this debt service. So another thing that we're going to be doing, most likely, depending on market conditions, is taking the 18 million and rolling that into a bond issue for a total of 36 million. We're probably going to be doing that in July of next year. So we did an estimated debt service schedule for that, and it's basically $3,025,000 a year. We used, at this point, it's a conservative rate. It's 3%. We just did a bond issue for Suffolk County School District, and we got a 1.6 on it. Same thing, 15-year bond issue. So the rates are good now. They're very good, but we wanted to be a little conservative at this point in time because there's a lot of talk out there about, in the market, about inflation, that the economy is heating up. So it's a possibility that rates will climb. Again, that old saying, my crystal ball is broken. I can't tell you where the rates are going to be next year. I can tell you where they're going to be now. And at this point in time, rates are good, and it's a good time to borrow. So, so basically, we were talking about backfilling in the debt service here. And basically, we came up with, again, it's an estimate, about $50 million project if you wanted to move forward with a $50 million project. It would basically level out, get a little tick there in 2025, I'm sorry, in 2026, it goes up to 10 million there. But it's not a big jump. It's a very small percentage. Most likely we will be able to smooth that out in that year. Again, there are a lot of variables involved here also. One variable is state aid, right? State aid approvals. How much state aid you're going to receive for the project. So those are two variables. The other variable too is the project. Most of these projects that the districts, do, they have to be done in the summertime. So if you don't have state aid approval in the summer that, we're hoping to borrow, there could be, we're going to have to figure something out. You may have to wait a whole nother year to borrow the money in order to do the project because we have to be careful of arbitrage. And basically, you have 2 years to spend all the money down. So you have to be careful not to borrow too early. And that's my point here. So there are some variables out there. Again, state aid, when the approvals are going to come, how much state aid you're going to receive for the projects. Again, I wasn't told exactly what we're going to do, so it was very difficult to come up with any type of state aid percentage just because I'm really not sure what the project is. But again, the whole goal here was to kind of see what would backfill the debt service. And it's most likely it's probably about a $50 million bond issue. We do have some leeway here too on that $50 million bond issue. We just did the whole thing, and I used a 3.5% interest rate. Again, we just did a school district nearby as a 1.6%. So we're a little more conservative. But that's a couple of years out, so we're not really sure where the rates are going to be at that point. We just do our best guesstimate at this point. Does anybody have any questions or?
I have a question. So my only concern is, and I had a feeling we would be about $50 million that we can use approximately for our next capital project bond. My only concern now is the cost of goods, the materials. Wood, my husband built a dock for my son. it was double than it would have cost him last year. So I have to consider some of these variables taking place. The lower interest rate, but then you mentioned that there's a period of time when you can use the money. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into this. Even getting the materials on time, if you can, get through the cost of being so much. Now, John Allen, are we around like 60% on the state aid? 67%. 67%. Now, do you see that changing in future years, or?
The age ratio?
Yeah,
State age ratio has not changed as far as I'm aware of in the last 40 years.
that's what I thought. So I think it's great. I think the schools can use a lot of stuff, especially air conditioning systems, HVAC systems and stuff like that. I feel more comfortable talking with John and just him being the boots on the ground to seeing, what is the most cost-effective way of doing this project. I don't want to sit there, put in HVAC for X amount of dollars, but if I waited 6 months, the price could diminish quite significantly. So I'll have to lean on John for his expertise on, I'm sure you don't have that crystal ball with wood and mechanical or waiting for some of these projects, products or materials to come in, but that should be factored into making this decision. I'm not against the decision. I think, obviously I'd want to do a lot of work with our schools, but when is the right time?
Right, that's one of the things where it is a difficult decision for the board, because there are a lot of processes that you have to go through. One of them is first, a lot of communities, a lot of districts, they get a committee together. Well, what exactly do we need? You call on us, right? I come up, I say, yeah, about 50 million would fill a gap so that you don't have much of a change. It won't affect your residents that much. Basically, what's coming off, you're putting the debt back on, right? No, right. Right, well, right, no, I understand, and also, the point that I was trying to make was that, the financing is not as easy as it sounds. You have to, again, whether you're going to get a committee together or whatever, you have to get the referendum passed, right? That takes time. You have to get, once you have, you got to get the final specs, completed. You got to get them up to SED. That takes time. So, and then, putting a shovel in the ground takes a little time also, just doing that. So it's not, to your point, yes, it's not an easy decision. But I guess what I'm saying also is that tomorrow, it's not like you're going to be breaking ground tomorrow. This is probably a 2-year process, at least, before we actually start to borrow. That's what I'm guessing at this point in time. But again, John he's the expert on, what the materials are going to cost, what things look like. So he is very good with that, so.
I think sometime this month. So I know those wheels are in motion. I think the plan is to have this on our May ballot for a vote to go out to the community. So, that's definitely the timeline I expect. I don't think that the community will delay this one more year or even put out a special election to pass a referendum for this. So, from now until, May, we have time to, obviously, design what this may look like as far as what projects are going forward.
Right, correct.
Okay, but
And just another point too, just because, you pass, say we do $50 million, if things start, turning the wrong way, whether interest rates go up or it's materials or however that balance is, you don't always have to borrow the whole amount. It's up to the district to, do the borrowing.
so basically it's like an equity line, whether you use it or, But you
No,
have it
it's
if you
not,
need it.
it's not like an equity line. You would have to actually go out and finance, so you have to have a finite amount that you're going out to borrow.
Based on the projects and the specs.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
So I just need from the board the approval to have Mr. Allen and myself speak with the Facilities Advisory Committee next week at our first meeting with that $50 million price tag in mind. Because this is a Board of Education committee. The charge was approved by the board at the reorganization meeting, and we just wanted to bring Mr. LaGuercio in so that you folks could decide if that's, the highest that you wanted to go out to the community so that it would have the least amount of impact on our taxpayers. So I just need authorization for that.
Yes, because that tells the community we can spend.
I'm a yes.
I mean, yes.
Okay, thank you. John, did you want to?
Yeah, I'm sorry, and I appreciate you approving that and giving us some direction. I just want to touch on one piece, and I'm sorry I stepped out to try to solve a community issue there real quickly, but we're looking strictly at debt service and state aid on this PowerPoint right here. One of the pieces that's not factored into this is the savings from the energy performance. That's going to be $1 million. I have a spreadsheet, it's guaranteed, I could show you the numbers. If that $1 million is taken out of the energy performance, it allows us about another $12 million worth of borrowing. So while I can appreciate $50 million and it's a tremendous project, I don't want to start by tapping the brakes before we see what the committee actually comes up with, what John Grillo and the Building Conditions Survey comes up with. I would prefer to be able to go to that committee and look at the full scope of work that the administration, the community, the facility committee all comes up with, and then report back to the board periodically to find out how we can streamline it and what we could do next. Well, you got to remember also, we had a capital reserve that was funded the year prior, so that offset quite a bit to as well. Right.
Up a reserve for the capital, because I noticed we don't have that. Sachem has it, a few other districts have it. So, while we're funding those different, at the end of the year, we should also be considering doing that so that in preparation for our next capital project, so that we kind of offset some of that cost.
So, I'm sorry. I don't know if in this case we'll have that luxury if we're going to try to go to the community for a May vote, because we're not going to have the books closed next year to know if there's going to be any extra surplus to put into a capital reserve. When we do a capital project, it's very clearly defined as to what the scope is. So we'll have done that prior to the May vote, and that would be when we would do that.
I understand that, but if it's any overage, why wouldn't we set up some of the money, like we did the 9.8, we were able to do it then, why can't we do that again?
Yeah, Madeline, we may need legal input on this. I believe when it comes down to a capital reserve, it is specific to a dollar amount and a term and also a specific scope of a project, if I'm correct.
Yeah, yes, that is correct, because remember, it's voter approved, so it has to be very specific. That is correct.
So at the time of the May vote, if we can get this on the ballot, can we also put that on as well to see what overage we do have and to allocate for that as well?
That's probably the way we would recommend doing it, right? So
Perfect.
just to make sure that you're covered, have additional voter approval.
Yes.
Yes, that's what we would recommend.
Thank you, that's the plan, John.
Very good, thank you so much.
Now, Dean, do you want to speak to back to school?
Yes. Just briefly, we will have all of the opening of school reports to the Board of Education by Thursday or Friday of this week. So you can see an update of class size, as well as other items that we had deemed important that the board is aware of. So I'll be sending that to you either in the Friday FYI or on Thursday morning. In addition to that, we have some changes with regards to our quarantine teaching and learning expectations for our quarantine students. And it really is about the elementary school program. So in grades K through 5, quarantine isolated or COVID absent students will be assigned a virtual teacher. They'll be provided 1 hour of synchronous instruction in mathematics and literacy, and this will occur Monday through Friday each week that school is in session. The virtual teacher will communicate with the classroom teacher as well as the parent and guardian on a daily basis. Student work will be turned in through their Google Classroom or Seesaw if the student is in grades K through 2. Also to remember is that all students must adhere to the Board of Education Policy 4526R2, which is the acceptable use for remote learning regulation. So that's the big change that we are looking to implement. And this evening, on the board agenda is a teacher that we're looking to appoint for that position.
Jackie, any questions for Dean?
Are you going over, I know that, Linda, you had said something about the patriotic celebrations and curriculum that I wanted to hear about in each building.
Yes, so
Especially the curriculum that we need to put a little more emphasis on.
So I did send the board a report on all of the activities that took place at each of the schools this past September 10th in memory and honor of and remembrance. Yep.
I saw that. I thought it was going to be a slideshow of something. That's what I was told.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood then, and I will prepare something for the next board meeting so that you have it, as well as I could have Mr. Kassane put together some of the district-wide plans that are going on with regards to that initiative.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, Jackie, did you want to talk about Coach Massey and Coach Ambrosini?
I think Mr. Hauser was going to present some information about transportation and where we are there.
No, we're talking about the football game and
Yeah.
Dave Ambrosini.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know, I'm just going.
I didn't
to
see school transportation.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Thank
part of
you,
our
Lee.
opening of school report,
Oh,
so.
sorry,
Do you
Dave.
want me to do it or you can do it? Okay.
No, they finish more.
Yeah, I'm just going to pass it over to Mr. Hauser to discuss the transportation program.
Okay, I didn't show on here, sorry.
Okay, thank you. I just want to acknowledge the numerous issues we have had since the first day of school with transportation, mainly at all levels, from elementary to middle school up to high school. Today we finished the 4th day of school. I'm optimistic, and Dr. Adams and I physically were present at a specific dismissal today at the Sycamore School, where we were able to observe some significant progress with the dismissal, only, I think, 8 minutes, as opposed to much longer time in the previous days. So we are making progress day by day and route by route. The board tonight is going to approve the hiring of 3 new bus drivers and a matron. I believe we also got a verbal acknowledgement from the board for the administration to hire bus drivers as they come to the district, and then we will retroactively approve those bus drivers at the following board meetings. That should be a help. These 3 bus drivers that are coming on now. The deficit is approximately 15 bus drivers. So with these 3, we're still going to be short 12. With Reza's assistance, we're going to be advertising in the local newspapers a little more actively to try to attract bus drivers. I'm sure you're all hearing around the country, even specifically around us, of bus driver shortages, and also matrons, those who assist on certain buses. So the other thing we've done is we've made a decision, and hopefully the board will approve it tonight, to bring back a consultant who is very instrumental in setting up our route software program, which is called TransFinder. The gentleman, Mr. John Robertson, was at the district for a little less than 3 years, but he was very instrumental in setting up that program, determining how the routes are calculated by bus, by student, and also how that data in the TransFinder program integrates with our parent portal through eSchool, and that the information between the two databases is communicated clearly. It's electronic, it's daily, but that we're giving accurate information out to the parents and the students so that they can rely on that information each morning and each afternoon. We're also working internally with our own tech support department to make sure that the data that is actually inputted, this, and I'm talking about the student data, so when we have new students come into the district, that the data that's entered into the eSchool platform is communicated clearly to that TransFinder database. That's also the same case when students leave the district, that they're properly removed, that we don't have excess students in that database that don't need transportation anymore, and if there are any modifications or any changes to an existing student's transportation profile, that it's communicated clearly between the two databases. So we hope to have some accurate information, possibly later this morning, of where we actually finished today with the routes that took place today in terms of how delayed they were. I believe it's going to show some progress. So hopefully tomorrow will be a better day. Thursday, in case anyone didn't know or doesn't remember, the district is closed due to a religious holiday. So we'll be back Friday, and the goal will be to make some more progress even for Friday. So I just wanted to communicate what the district is doing. We're here till 10 o'clock and back at 6 o'clock in the morning for the most part, trying to make sure each route is set up correctly and that we're trying our best to communicate with the parents. And I know that's been another issue with people trying to get through to either the district office, trying to get through to the transportation department. We made a change today, which is if anyone tries to call the transportation department, after 10 rings, if no one in that transportation department answers that phone, those calls will be automatically rolled over into the central office where we have 3 staff members there who will be able to answer the phone. So I think it's important that anyone who calls regarding a transportation issue, and really any issue in general, but that anyone who calls with a transportation issue, that you at least be able to speak to someone and not just hear a phone ring and not be able to communicate with anyone. So I think that'll make a big difference for tomorrow.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Now, Jackie, would you like to talk about Coach Massey and Coach Ambrosini?
On Friday, September 17th, before Connecticut's football game, home opener at 7 p.m., we will be honoring and having a special celebration thanks to Mr. Pete Mallory, our athletic director in Connecticut. We're going to be honoring 2 very special men that have worked in Connecticut for many, many years. They actually were my teachers and my coaches. That's how long ago it was. They have touched so many hearts of so many students across our district, and they still have deep roots of family in our community. So I am so excited to say that we will be having a memorial celebration in honor of them to legends of Connecticut, to amazing teachers, to amazing coaches. And I welcome anybody, we welcome anybody who feels that they can be there on Friday to please come. It will be starting around 6:45 before the game. It's something that really would be nice to support these families and let them know that we appreciate all that their fathers, husbands, aunts, uncles, everybody who can come to celebrate these two great men and all that they gave to Connecticut over the years, all that their family still gives to Connecticut in the way of time, and all that they did for so many of us students that have gone through Connecticut. And I just want to thank Dr. Adams, Mr. Mallory, and anyone else who had a hand in helping make this happen. I really, really appreciate it. I know that the whole entire board appreciates it, and we look forward to being there.
Thank you, Jackie. Now, do you want to talk about American Sign Language, Jackie?
Yes. So I had sent something to Dean, so I'm going to throw it to you, about American Sign Language and how other districts have done it, and how important it is, and how it could actually be its own curriculum. And I wanted to see if you guys came up with any ideas after I sent the email to you guys.
So after discussions, one of the initial thoughts that we had, which is similar to, when we had the conversations about our FLES program, was starting it as a club to gain interest and gauge interest for students. And we could start that, at both the elementary, middle, and high school level, depending on the availability of someone to be able to facilitate that club. So that was the idea we had first, was to kind of roll it out as a club and then see the interest level of our students.
I think that you guys had that last year. I believe my son actually was in an elementary school that had a sign language program. If I'm not mistaken, it was an after-school program. It might have even been 2 years ago.
So it was pre-pandemic, but we didn't have ALS as a component to it. It was primarily the foreign languages that we offer in Connecticut.
Well, whatever you guys can come up with that we can incorporate American Sign Language, I'd like to see it over the next few years incorporated into a classroom setting where somebody comes in and maybe does something in that classroom. I think it would be really behoove children to learn it. And me and Dr. Adams went to the two, like I said, the 2 or 3 schools, I think it was, and it was beautiful to see the 5th graders, learn so fast at such a young age. I just think it would be something that would be great. That's what I'd sent you guys, all the literature that I'd read.
No, we agree, and so we'll put together a multi-year implementation plan for you, and we'll look to see if we can start this this coming school year. So we'll have a proposal for those clubs, hopefully by the next board meeting, as well as a multi-year implementation so that we can work it directly into our curriculum, again, based on interest of our students.
Excellent.
Thank you. I wanted to add something to the discussion, if that's possible. Don't worry, it's actually, I'm going to ask the board something. So I just wrote a little something. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I see the value in vaccines and how it eradicated many childhood diseases. I'm also aware that there had been vaccine injuries prior to COVID. Over $4 billion were paid out to families as a result. I have seen, as a result of vaccine injury, the challenges my friend faces daily. I followed her journey for quite some time now. The medical and physical challenges, the many times it's 2 steps forward and 10 steps back. That her child needs 24 hours of supervision. He is 24 years old and will never know the freedoms that we value in our children. He is nonverbal and has learned to communicate through electronic device. Assembly Jeffrey Dunowitz introduced new legislation along with State Senator Brad Hollyman, which would mandate COVID vaccines to all our children who attend in New York City State. The bill would take effective 30 days after the shots receive its full federal approval. Myself and other parents wrote on Mr. Dunowitz's Facebook post regarding this legislation to mandate the COVID vaccine. Our comments, concerns were removed, and we were censored. Thousands of comments from New York State residents opposing this vaccine mandate were silenced. A report that came out of Israel that the immunity is 13 times more effective than the vaccine. The CDC changed the definition of vaccine description, stating immunity now to protection. The definition of vaccine was changed after the COVID vaccine was instituted. It does not prevent disease or provide immunity. The WHO changed the definition of herd immunity in October 2020 from indirect protection from an infectious disease that happens when a population is either immune or vaccinated through previous infection to the meaning, which is a concept used for vaccination, in which a population can be protected from a virus or a vaccination is reached. So far, data suggests that children under the age of 18 years old represent 8.5% of reported cases, with relatively few deaths compared to other age groups and usually mild disease. However, causes of critical illness have been reported. As with adults, pre-existing medical conditions have been suggested as a risk factor for severe disease and intensive care admission in children. This should also be a parental choice in consultation with their healthcare provider. This is not a one-size-fits-all vaccine. There are risks. In the U.S., there has been an increase in reported cases of myocarditis and pericarditis after mRNA COVID-19 vaccination, particularly in male adolescents and young adults aged 16 and older. Myocarditis and the inflammation of the heart muscle, while pericarditis and the inflammation of the lining outside the heart. These reports, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of CDC is investigating to see if there's any relationship to the COVID-19 vaccination. On the cases reported, the problem happened more often after the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and typically within the first days after COVID-19 vaccination. Most of the people who received care quickly felt better after receiving the medicine, and resting symptoms to watch for to include chest pain, shortness of breath, feelings of having a fast beating, fluttering, or pounding heart. I'm asking my board to support against the COVID vaccine mandate for our students in writing a strong letter to our local legislators, our governor, and Assemblyman Jeffrey Donowitz. Let's support parent choice. The government should not be a co-parent in making this decision for our children. So I'm going to ask the board. So I'm going to motion for the board for Linda to draft a letter to our local legislators, our governor, and Assemblyman Jeffrey Donowitz. I'm making a motion on the floor to instruct or to advise Linda to write this letter up and that the board can sign.
I'll second it.
And the letter is in opposition to mandated vaccine for children, correct?
Yes, so we're good, yeah, it's in opposition to the mandate.
Opposition, okay.
So I'm a yes. Lee?
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, so you have 4 yeses for that, Linda.
Okay, let me, if you can forward that to me, so I have all the names of the people that you want it
Yes.
for. And we're opposition to the mandated vaccine for COVID for
Correct.
children.
For
Correct.
children, the little ones, I
Correct.
mean, 9 to 12.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna,
So I got just one more thing, Jackie.
Good.
So the other thing that was on here is separate is the testing. So I know that Reza, you sent out a survey to have those that are not vaccinated tested. So I have a question. So I know that I read on some facilities, they actually do a saliva test, which is a lot less invasive than a nasal swab. There are supposedly contaminants or carcinogens. It's hard to talk with this mask on. Carcinogens that are on the swab. So I'd like to have another opportunity for those. I know it's our staff that will be testing. Maybe you might feel a little more comfortable doing the saliva versus the swab.
So I know that Gail's office is working with a particular company that, once we begin the testing, I believe the testing is done through the nasal swabs, but we will work to find other companies that maybe do the saliva, and we'll find out from this particular company whether or not they're willing to do the saliva test as well. Since the board had asked us to go forward in that fashion, we'll work on getting you information about that, and as soon as we know something, we'll get back to you.
And so my last question is that we do know that vaccinated people can spread COVID. So, and I understand it's the recommendation or the mandate, whatever how you want to phrase it, is only to test those that are not vaccinated. So I have a concern about that because I know COVID people who are vaccinated are still getting sick and they can still potentially spread. I've confirmed that with a few nurses I've spoke to regarding this. So I'm not asking you to go against, just making a statement, vaccinated and non-vaccinated, we could all potentially spread this virus.
Thank you.
Okay, I have what Lisa wants me to read, what she had drafted up for me. The Board of Education, this Board of Education, authorizes the Connecticut District and/or General Counsel to contact Hamburger Maxim. For those who don't know who that is, it's the law firm that is dealing with, across Long Island, the lawsuit against the governor's mandates, on behalf of this board to obtain information about potential litigation regarding the New York State mask mandate and other mandates involving COVID-19. It's not just about the masks, which a lot of people think. It's about the governor's potential overreach, where we are not in an emergency situation anymore, and it's something that we need to look into. Other board members and us have discussed it, and we, at least right now, are going to look into this. At the next meeting, I will make a motion, I'll put a motion on the table to vote to support this and join. Because unfortunately, until we join and we become part of it, if every district waited for the other districts to jump on and be part of it, then nobody would be part of it. We have to be part of the change, and if we're not part of it, then we can't discuss wanting, what you're saying right here, a parental choice or anything else. Right now, people were wearing masks. What happens when they say we don't have to wear masks? Maybe the people who want you in masks, or parents who want masks now are going to be angry. We want to bring it back to the local level.
So if I can interrupt, that's actually a motion. So what you read was a motion which would authorize the district and/or council to reach out to Hamburger Maxim. So if you want you can ask, your board members to vote on.
I'm going to motion to look into, to have Gercio and it's going to be you guys, correct?
It could be us, it could be Linda.
Okay, look into the lawsuit and potentially next time vote on it.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Excuse me, my son would like to speak before the board.
Not right now.
Okay.
Yeah, the only other thing that I have, Lee, and I'm not sure if you want me to discuss that now, because I don't see it. I
Did
see
you
that.
finish the vote?
No.
Okay, you have to finish the vote.
Now we need an all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I have to abstain because I really don't know enough about it.
Okay, I'm gonna, now, Lee, do you want me to move to, I see that you guys moved a lot of my things to executive content, rather. And that, I know, really wasn't, that stuff really isn't. The patriotism we spoke about, that I want the curriculum. The back,
Can I just add, the reason why I moved it there is because it all was based on the meeting brought into that back to school.
okay, well, it's things that need to be discussed, like the backpacks and laptops in the middle school, the transportation update, which, thank you very much, we already got. I'm just trying to find out the other things that I had asked you guys about. The issues with the lunchroom, that today we were able to visit middle school lunchrooms. I'm still not impressed. It's not against any person. It's a problem with the actual whole environment. I don't like the environment for the children. I think we are making it actually more stringent now than we had a year ago when things were worse. And I really don't understand it. If we allowed kids to use cell phones at the middle school when they were behind cubbies, now we're turning tables and saying that that means you're socializing. I just don't see it. I told you that today. If we're going to call this a pandemic, and we're going to say we're all still in masks because of the pandemic, why are we not doing what we did last year during the pandemic? Let the kids use whatever they need to use during lunch to allow them not to be bored, give them some leeway. Bored children are the ones that get in trouble. Children that sit and they're being quiet, they're not bothering anybody. We have children that they're not finding seats in the lunchroom, I'm told. I didn't see that today. I have to tell you, I saw a lot of happier children, and I was happy to see that. But I also did see the children that are sitting alone, which breaks my heart. So for those children, I want them to have the ability to be able to have some sort of support, whether that's they want to text their mom at home. Whatever it is, it should be allowed. It was allowed last year, and that was during a pandemic. I want to know what the difference is if we're all back in masks and we're still taking 6-foot precautions, 3-foot precautions, can't social distance. If we're doing all that, why are we picking and choosing and piecemealing what we're going to allow and what we're not going to allow?
Okay, I also, are you finished, Jackie?
Well, I'm finished with that portion, so by all means.
I want to add to that topic. I was in both of the schools today as well, in the lunch hour. Our job really is not to govern buildings. Our job is to follow policy. Both schools that I was in, I talked to the kids. I walked up and down, kids that were sitting alone. I asked them from 1 to 10, how are you enjoying this? They have laptops that they can play games on. They were talking to each other. They were not taking pictures, doing the things that could get kids in trouble. The only reason they were allowed to have cell phones last year was because of those plastic cubbies, and they could not communicate. Before last year, they were not allowed to have cell phones. They had to communicate words to each other. They have their boards. So I saw a whole different perspective. These kids were enjoying each other. These kids were interacting with each other.
Lee, there were kids sitting alone. There were kids sitting alone.
Excuse me.
There are not enough seats to have enough kids
Jackie,
near their friends.
Jackie, please, I'm talking.
But I'm saying.
I'm talking. When I finish.
But you're acting as if we weren't in the same room. We weren't in the same room. Did I not tell you and Dr. Adams that I actually told you?
I know what you told me, but I know what I saw. I know how I
Did you
spoke
see
to-
the children sitting alone?
I know how I spoke.
Did you
to
see the children sitting alone?
I saw.
I'm asking you a question. Did you see the same children I saw sitting alone?
I went up to them.
And I
You
appreciate
weren't
that.
there. You
I
weren't
was
even
there.
No,
I was there when you said I went up to that
child.
child.
I went up to the children that were sitting alone. I asked them, personally asked them, are you having a good time? Do you have friends? I spoke to the superintendent. I spoke to administration.
Lee, I went up to.
I spoke to administration that if there are children sitting alone, they should have a chit and chat.
Lee, what you told me was if the kids are sitting alone, we should get a social worker. That's what you told me, which, by the way, is ridiculous. Because if I got to get a social worker for every time my own personal child is sitting alone, we don't have enough social workers in our schools for that. Okay, kids should be able to be kids and have a little bit of normalcy. We're putting 3 to 4 kids in a seat on a bus, but kids in a lunchroom are being treated like they're in a jail. I'm sorry.
That is
I'm
not
sorry. You
true.
guys talked about me saying it was a jail when it was armed guards, and I disagree. But I don't like what I saw today. I don't like it at all.
So how do we go about fixing that? What do we do? What's the next step?
Well, Brian, that was my whole thing. I asked Dr. Adams today, how do we fix this? I asked parents.
It's a building issue, and
No, it's a policy. We need to obviously.
No, it's not, because at the high school, my kids are on their cell phone. They call me at FaceTime at lunchtime.
I know, and let me ask you something. Isn't that nice? I think that's nice. I appreciate what the high school's doing. God bless them.
So I'm trying to solve the issue instead of just beating a dead horse. Let's figure out how to solve the problem. Is it a superintendent issue? Is it a policy issue? Or is it,
Well, here's the problem. Brian, you're on the emails. I sent an email.
I'm on all the
I
emails,
did it
yes.
the right way. I sent an email to the superintendent and all of you. I did. I sent it to you about all this. Then I went to the school last minute. Linda, the superintendent called me and I went. I dropped everything I had today, canceling appointments so I could make it to 2 middle schools. Made it to both middle schools because I was going to be impressed. And by the way, the schools look beautiful, everything looks nice, the kids look healthy and happy, but at the same time, there is still sadness. It is sad to see these kids sitting isolated. I don't get it. I have a 6th grader. I have a 9th grader. I ask all of their friends. They all tell me the same thing. Everybody's saying the same thing. We just want to be able to do something. Maybe we're bored, maybe we're this. Give them some opportunity. All I'm saying is if you followed these regulations last year, why did we change them this year? I don't understand it. So we can all be in masks. We all got to be socially distanced. We're looking at, now we got desks that I actually think is ridiculous. Facing each other, you're actually further away from the kid in front of you if you turn around. One of the kids told me that today. They said, oh, I liked when the desks were back to back because when I turned around, there was only a small table. And Dr. Adams told me that it has to be like this or they'd get quarantined. And me personally, I said I'd rather my child get quarantined at some point than have to be so isolated. And I was told that that's not what parents would want, and I don't believe it. I believe parents would rather there be a chance down the road, because there could be a chance, even if you're 6 feet apart, that you're gonna get quarantined. That you get that your kids don't have to act like they are scared to death to be near people. It's I'm sorry. We're causing more anxiety. We're not causing more good. So obviously I got nowhere with that. I'll move on to the next thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just to go back to a couple of the points. The intent of the social distancing is not to create isolation and separate settings for kids. The intent is to make sure that children have an uninterrupted educational process. And over the past year and a half.
But how is that emotionally helping them? How is that helping?
So let me just finish. So it's to have an uninterrupted educational process. So for the past year and a half, children have had a disrupted process, right? The school year has not been the same for them. So our goal was to keep them in school as much as possible. And in our opinion, the social distancing piece will reduce the amount of quarantines that we'll have for students, which will allow them to be in school every single day with their friends, socializing in a variety of different settings. I'm not arguing your point. I'm just saying the rationale behind.
Okay, I went into a music room today. Kids are side by side. Kids are sitting closer than they're sitting in the lunchroom, which is good. I'm glad. I actually was happy to see that. That was actually a nice scene.
Right, so part of the precautions with lunch is that if a child has their mask down for an extended period of time, they should be 6 feet apart, and that will reduce the quarantines.
Okay, so I should tell all parents that their children should keep a potato chip in their hand, like I said today, and the entire time, so that technically they can be maskless in the lunchroom because they're still eating. Right? Because if they're done eating, they have to put their mask back on. But if they're not done eating, if they're still eating, if they're eating for the whole 40 minutes, they can be maskless for the whole 40 minutes, correct?
If a child is eating, they could be maskless.
So then the moral of the story is kids should keep a potato chip in their hands at all times so that they can be,
I'm not going to argue the point. The point of the story is that we're looking to provide a contiguous education for our students and to make sure that they are in school as much as possible.
Well, I appreciate that. I also know from experience that the suicide rate has skyrocketed, that children, young children, 10, 11 years old, are having more issues and being taken to hospitals more than ever before.
Right, but I'm not debating those statistics, and I'm not discounting.
I'm saying that. I understand
just giving you the rationale.
I understand you have to. You guys want to make sure that the kids have a continuous education. I want to make sure they're alive to see tomorrow.
Right. So I think.
And I understand. I've heard straight from doctors' mouths that children are going to die from the issues that they're going to have mentally from all of this, it's going to be a higher rate
That's why we want
than
them in
COVID.
school.
So that's the issue that I have right now.
No, and that's why we want them in school, so that they can experience all the support systems that we have in place for them.
Then why are we taking things that could be a ground ball, easy breezy? We did it last year, we're back in mass, we're saying the numbers, Dr. Adams told me the numbers were higher now than they were last year at this time, am I wrong?
So, as part of our code of.
Is that, wait, hold on, is that true? Okay, so if the numbers are
Is
higher,
this about the cell phones?
yeah, I just don't understand something so minute.
I'm just confused, is it about the cell phones?
Yes, I don't understand
So
why
let me-
we would have a policy last year that works, and now this year parents are asking for it, and we're saying, no, 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 no.
All right, no one has reached out to me about that, and nor have the principals reached out to me about providing any flexibility or looking to provide flexibility.
The Board of Ed has received emails.
Okay, so, it's part of our code of conduct that cell phones are not in use. The high school is using their discretion because obviously the children are developmentally at a different stage. We are allowing them to use their Chromebooks during those periods, and we have, filters on those devices so that our student data is private.
Okay, let me ask you something. The kids in the high school, they have the same opportunity to go on a site on their cell phone as the kids in middle schools, correct? They have the same opportunity.
Not through our network,
No, through their cell phone.
not on our network.
So when they're in the high school, if I go in the high school right now and I try to go on a site on my cell phone, it's going to be blocked.
So what we can definitely do.
So why can't you do the same thing at the middle schools?
Again, I'm not debating it, but I think, we would have to have a discussion with our building administration, our instructional staff, as well as our IT staff to talk about this proposal change to have students use cell phones.
Well, I just want to know why that wasn't done last year then. If this
It
is
was
something
done-
that was done last year,
Last year, it was done because they gave them permission because they sat behind those.
okay, Lee, they could still have gone on
That
the
was
same
last year.
sites. They could
This
have gone
year-
on the same sites that he's talking
Can I
about
just finish for a
right
second?
now.
I'm sorry. Can I
This
just
year,
finish
they're
for a
going
second?
back to the way it used to be, where they weren't allowed at that age.
See, that's neither here nor there. What I'm being told is that they could go on sites. Well, they could have went on these sites last year. We're a little behind the 8 ball, don't you think?
But I think that one of the things that we learned from last year is that, nothing is set in stone for what we're doing, okay? And as situations come up, we can reevaluate them. So,
I've been sending emails all week, and it still hasn't been reevaluated, and I was taken to the schools today to really, in my opinion, be shown, look at how happy everybody is. And then everybody forgot that I knew some of the kids in those lunchrooms, and I made myself useful by asking the same way Lee asked kids, and kids were not happy. They said that this is terrible. No, I know it's terrible. I didn't think it was great either.
so if the superintendent, requests that we form a committee to relook at the cell phone usage in the middle school,
Did you do that last year? Or did you just unilaterally say the kids are allowed to just do it because we're under the pandemic rules?
we met as an administrative team.
And that's when it was done?
Yes.
Okay, then yes, then the same thing that was done last year would be nice if everybody would look into it strongly this year.
So
I
we're-
strongly am advocating for
We're
it.
not looking to hurt kids. We want to provide the best experience for them possible. We want to maintain their online safety as well as their emotional and physical safety as well. So, we make decisions, but if things need to be reevaluated as we go through the school year, we've learned that we need to be flexible and we need to make those adjustments as we go forward. So it's not a debate or a fight. It's just looking at, situations so that we can provide the best education for our kids as we go forward.
Okay, and the other things were issues with laptop these are things I emailed, and I don't think you're on them. I know that we have Dr. Adams on them. I don't know, but it's issues with laptop protective equipment. Is there anything we're going to get for these kids that I saw plenty of children carrying them under their arms today? Not that I care if one breaks, because I'd be the first one to vote to just give the kid another laptop, because we're the ones who gave it to them like this, with no protective anything on them.
But you're assuming that we're not doing that, right? And, we have a fully vetted system that we have in place. Each school has backup devices Parents have been communicated with, teachers have been communicated with, and kids have been communicated with about who they need to go to, what tickets, where they could put tickets in to get repairs. So we have devices available for kids that do break them. A decision was made, and, it was a fiscal decision because purchasing the amount of devices that we did for our entire district plus a case, we felt that if a student had a backpack or a string bag or something like that, that would be appropriate enough.
Right, but
We
they're not
also-
allowed to carry those. My understanding is that they were allowed, and now I'm being told by parents, not by the admin, by parents that
So
they're not
I'll check
allowed.
with the administration, but we have insurance for all of our Chromebooks and all of our devices. So for theft, for loss, and for breakage, we do not charge families, and we have not charged families. So far to date, we only had 26 that we swapped out at the high school, and this is coming from them having them since June. 4 at RMS and 3 at OBMS. So
That's excellent.
Our breakage rate is really low.
What we saw today, and Dr. Adams was right next to me, we saw kids dropping water bottles, carrying giant binders. I thought that when they got these Chromebooks, and I know she had said over time you'll see that happen, but I thought once you got these Chromebooks, we'd be doing more curriculum-based work through the Google Classroom, through the Chromebook. I didn't think that I'd be seeing kids carrying a backpack, a giant binder, those zip-around binders, their Chromebook under their arm, water bottles. It's a lot. Like, these are some small kids. It's not the high school.
So I know that some of the schools have different requirements for their kids, and we can definitely look at that. Most of our texts are online. Most of our staff is using Google Classroom. And, students do have a text. A lot of those texts they have a classroom set, and then there's a set at home.
Well, some parents had said to me, and I had heard this myself as well, that, because I had said, what about drawstring bags? Like, let the kids, because that was
Yeah,
done
I
years
haven't
ago
heard
when my daughter was
backpacks.
younger, in 6th grade or 7th grade, they were able to carry drawstring bags. It was never an issue. Now, all of a sudden, this year, it may be an issue, or maybe, I heard that it's actually the educator's discretion, and whether it's a teacher or whoever is in the classroom, due to tripping hazards or something like that. That's what I was told. Not that there's no real policy against having a backpack in the classroom.
Okay, so I'll find out about the backpacks. I'll find out about the binders. But as for the Chromebooks, our breakage rate is incredibly low. We're very happy about that. If I felt that we had a breakage rate of over 10% of our total device allotment to students, I would be very concerned, and we're not at that point right now. We have just enrolled in an insurance program that allows us to have all of our devices fixed once they're broken, and the kid automatically gets a brand-new device.
Very good, thank you.
In the time that Chromebook is being repaired.
Excellent.
So does the board want me to get an estimate on the cost for Chromebook cases?
Now, I was in the school as well, and a lot of these kids were awkward, they were carrying so many different things, and some of them were having a hard time. However, I was told that they're a little intimidated still, it's only the 4th day, they don't know how to open their lockers yet, that, come back in a week, which I'm gonna go back next week, the end of next week, give them time. I wanna see what these kids are still carrying, if anything. So,
They gotta carry the Chromebooks from class to class, no matter what, right? Those are used in every class. So if they gotta carry those from class to class, what I'm saying is, Lee, what we saw with kids, and I mean, they were carrying them under their arms like this. I just feel bad for the kid that drops it, breaks it, and gets all upset, thinking that they're gonna get in trouble. I just wanted me to know that no child's gonna get in trouble for having an accident. And that really needs to be
why don't you
reiterated.
just get a cost on whatever it costs to get something for every Chromebook?
Okay, thank you, Lee. The other thing that I had was the issues with mass discipline that would only cause anxiety I was feeling. and also the mask breaks that we had a lot of complaints about. And the last and final thing that I had was, like I said, that there's 3 or 4 kids in a seat on a school bus. Whether they're masked or not, there ain't no social distance going on there. I'd like to know what the difference is with that and all these other classrooms and everything. We're saying that we can put kids on a bus, which are not as ventilated, and we're gonna say that we can put 3 in a seat. And these are not elementary even ed kids. So if we're putting 3 in a seat, some seats they're pushing in almost 4, and I know that we had some issues because we need the drivers, I understand that. But I'm just saying, my whole thing is really, what's the difference with the social distancing on a school bus and a classroom? Anybody? I don't know who I asked. What's the difference?
It's actually in the CDC guidance, I'm just trying to find it.
Okay, I'm just saying, I mean, are we putting 3 kids in a seat? Once we get everything situated, are we putting 3 kids in a seat? I mean, if it is, then I just want the public to know that.
No, our intention and the way the routes are set up, ideally, the way the routes are set up is for 2 students to be in a seat, okay? And I certainly realize we have evidence of that not occurring, okay? But ideally 2.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know. I wanted to know if it was, and that's regular standard or that's just pandemic standard? Like, if we weren't in a pandemic, would 3 kids go in a seat? I mean, I guess elementary could probably fit, but I'm thinking the older kids.
On elementary, it's generally, you're allowed to put them in the seat, non-pandemic.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I have one last thing. Lisa, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and we would hope that you can, address the armed guards and how it ended up to be included in the budget.
Yes, but no one can.
I'd like to, yeah, so I'm gonna repeat again. So Lisa, I'm gonna put you on the hot spot and hopefully put to rest how the board came to putting armed guards on the budget versus a referendum. We keep getting 1 or 2 parents that are questioning that it was illegal, the way that it was done. And so we are here to put you on the spot, Lisa, to finally address it and hopefully put this topic to rest.
But the short answer is, it's exactly the opposite. So the Commissioner of Education has stated numerous times that putting an item that is a board determination, that the board should determine as a referendum, is not appropriate. The Board of Education has its process for getting feedback from the community, and then its job is to make a determination. To seek that information through a referendum will be usurping the board's duty of making decisions such as armed guards, which has been deemed to be a board determination and not something done through referendum. I believe the Board of Education in this case had committees with regard to this issue, numerous board meetings for 2 years or more with regard to the issue, so had plenty of information in order to come to a decision. But as I said, the Commissioner of Education has determined that it is not appropriate to put forth as a voting item a decision that the board should make as a Board of Education.
You know, I remember Greg going back on that a little bit, Mr. Gercio, saying some districts were doing it and it was okay if they did it. I just remember him saying that, so I asked him, why did you say that? Then you said something else. So can you look into why he said that then?
I certainly can, but,
Thank you.
you know, our office has,
I'm only telling you what he told me, and he said it in front of everyone, so I'm just curious as, you know.
Lee, did you get the emails did you get the email from Greg's office, though, showing all the literature that shows?
I'm just telling you what he said, and
I think the problem was that he was talking about you could do a referendum, but that it's not the appropriate way.
No, it's not what he said, but anyway, ask him what he said.
I'll definitely ask him what he said, but I just need to reiterate.
No, I see what you're saying, but I also know what he said.
She wrote the email.
But no, not only that, but over years and years, our office has opined and given legal guidance with regard to referendum in the same manner. So it really doesn't it hasn't changed in years. So I'm not sure what the exact conversation you may have had with Greg, but I will confirm that and I will inform the board.
But so that they know.
The referendum, all of what people had brought to the board, we did our due diligence, we looked into, we sent it to the law firm, and you came back with your response.
Yes, not only this time, but at the time that you were thinking about doing it, a year or two ago when you did vote to have armed guards as part of the budget. That is correct.
Thank you, Lisa.
I'll now open the floor for the public comment portion of the agenda. This public comment period is for consent agenda items only. So that's basically what's on here. We will be having an additional public comment period that will be held a little later. Please wait for the acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a number upon entering the building if you wish to speak this evening. If you did not, please see a security guard in the back of the room to get your number. If members of the audience speak at a turn, the board will take an immediate recess until order is restored. To reiterate, comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board will take an immediate recess until order is restored. But right now, we're just talking about consent agenda items. So, and that shouldn't take that long.
Lee, does that include all the things we already just spoke about?
No, consent agenda is what's coming up next. I'll let you know when the consent agenda, usually, we used to have copies of this.
It's, consent agenda items are everything that the board is about to vote on.
Yes, but I thought the stuff that we talked about, so that tonight was all going to be.
No, that comes, that's the next one. Okay, we're moving into financial matters. Nothing. Treasurer's report, June and July. Oh, do we meet? Oh, we're at number H. Okay, personnel matters. Call for a motion and a second to approve as amended. We're removing number 10, instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented.
There was an individual who notified us very, very late that she was not accepting the offer of a position. So I've asked Jesse to remove her.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion so carried.
Jackie?
So we would like to welcome, we would like to welcome Mr. Joseph Modica, who is our new assistant principal at Connecticut High School. Thank you and welcome to Connecticut.
Okay, we're moving on to financial matters. Call for a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 4.
I'll motion, but I'll ask my questions at the next board meeting, because this board meeting is already getting kind of late.
Okay, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're going for consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all items 2 through 8. If any questions from the board? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're moving on to public comments. So now's the time for public comments. And we're going by number? Okay, number 1?
So can I start?
You sure can? Okay, remember, you have 3 minutes.
Yes?
The mic.
Okay. Okay, is this better? Okay. So I'm a student at OBMS, and this place, I've already felt stress in 6th grade, but the mask and all of this COVID stuff is added onto it. Every day when I walk into school now, I'm thinking about whether or not I can survive and get out of there, because it feels like a prison. in lunch, right? Fourth period for me. I don't go to the cafeteria. I go to a guidance office so I can take my mask off. I focus, like say in class, right? I can't focus with a mask on. Doing that all day, it's unrealistic. Honestly. Think about it. You're a kid, right? And you already have to remember all this stuff, like what the teacher says, tests, all that kind of thing. Meanwhile, wearing a mask and breathing in your own carbon dioxide. Honestly. Like, a good example of like, I feel like I'm thinking too much about what I want to say. Take my time. To be honest, this whole COVID thing has been blown out of proportion. You just take a look at kids, and they have to literally spread out in a classroom, wear a mask, focus at the same time. It just, to me, doing that, it's just something I can't do. And also in the hallways, right? I can't wear a mask constantly, so I'm taking it off to breathe and literally watching my back at every corner. Like it's a prison, someone's going to attack or something like that. It's not fun. Like every day when I'm walking to school, because I stopped going to the bus because of the mask and all that stuff. I don't do that anymore. It's just pointless to me. So I walk to school, and the first thing I see when I look at the school, I'm like, I don't want to deal with this mask stuff again. And honestly, the first thing I feel is anger. I don't feel happy when I go to this school. I feel depressed, anxious, every single day. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get out of here and be okay. This place is not safe for children. It's not okay. To keep kids locked in a classroom, that's bad enough. But adding masks on that, it makes it a ton of times worse. Like, you have to focus, wear a mask at the same time, remember everything that the teacher says. It's just unrealistic. Really.
Good job.
Okay, I'd just like to preface that I'm not just speaking on behalf of my family, but for others that couldn't be here. First, I want to say how last year families were given the option to have the choice to be fully virtual if they were not comfortable with being in the building. Why are we not extended that same accommodation? If you look at the WHO database for the United States cases for the first week of September 2020, 1 week, we were at 243,884 positive cases, versus the same week, 2021, 1,034,836 cases. On a side note, if masks and vaccines worked, well, I don't know why that data isn't reversed, but that's my opinion, not here to argue that. However, I'm perplexed. Why are we ignoring this data if it's 1 million positive cases in 1 week that we're not given the virtual option? I did hear some districts might be working with BOCES for a virtual option at no cost to the parents. Or do you have anything like that on the table for us to continue to give our children their 14th Amendment? Crickets, okay. Second, parents are discouraged with the lack of mask breaks. An email was sent to remind the teachers that they would give them their mask breaks, yet our children are still coming home upset that they're not getting them. But it's not that they're not being offered, and on top of that, some are being scolded when they're not wearing them properly. We propose you implement a system like Hicksville has in place, where every day the teachers document the times the breaks are given and it is uploaded onto a Google Doc for the parents who want to view it. If our children are being held accountable to follow the guidelines for mask wearing, we want to ensure the teachers are also following your district guidelines for mask breaks. Agenda for transportation. How many drivers did you say you are short? 15.
Approximately 15.
Did you lose 15 drivers? Did we need 15 more? What happened there?
I would say due to retirements and also resignations.
Okay, were you aware of the need for how many buses and how many kids needed transportation prior to September? And were you not prepared for that our buses are overloaded and running late?
I believe the answer to your question is yes. And as I mentioned earlier, there is a shortage of people who are willing to become bus drivers.
Do you know why? Or no? Just, is it, I don't know.
I'm sure there are many reasons why people are not willing to become bus drivers.
Okay, so we weren't prepared for September. You brought up the testing. Will you be offering a religious exemption for testing? Will you accept religious exemptions for testing of staff? Is that being considered?
At this point, it is not permissible. It's not an accepted excuse by the Department of Health.
So Department of Health is who we would take that up with?
Yes.
Okay. I do appreciate, Mylene, I think you talked about, that you were going to back us for the COVID vaccine mandate. I just want to say that I don't have any faith in this board that you will actually back us when it comes time to fight the state against the mandate. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Number 3.
Hi, thank you for taking the time to listen. As you know, you saw my son, Gerard Canella. I'm a mother of 3 kids in the district, and I understand from a scientific point of view why we have the pandemic and what you were trying to do. But we also have an issue of a mental health problem. My son, at 9 years old, was a bright, happy, joyous kid, loved being at school. He wasn't the most organized, but he was really good. The thing that hadn't changed about him is he's great at public speaking. He did it at Sycamore. To see him have these issues is very heartbreaking for me as his mother. Now, my oldest son, Anthony, is a rock star in school, but he's very upset and anxious about this whole mask and the mandate and all of that. So he has a mental health piece for him as well. And my daughter also has a mental health piece with anxiety with this, except she diverted her way in coping differently. My son is the one the most affected right here. And I told him it was cathartic for him to come and speak before the board. He needed to do that to get out how he feels. And I think, I know you're gonna have a lot of resistance in all angles. I'm just here asking the board, can we please find solutions that, yes, manage the pandemic and what you have to do, but also protect the mental health of children. I'm worried what's going to happen to my son as this keeps going on. And I really am begging you guys to please come up with some good solutions and give the mask breaks solid schedules, give the support system. My son needs that. And so does my other 2 kids and all the kids. They need that support system. So, my name, Melanie Sametta. And my son is Gerard Canella. I go by my maiden name. I'm a single mom. And my other 2 kids are Anthony Canella. He's in high school, and he's a rock star. He's awesome. And my daughter, Christina Canella. Thank you.
Listen, we appreciate your son coming up here. He spoke perfect.
Thank you.
He spoke perfectly. Okay, you spoke perfectly.
Thank you so much.
For a young person to come up here, it takes a lot.
Number 4.
My name is Jason DeLuca from Oakdale. I have 3 children in the district. One at Eidelauer, OBMS here, and one at the high school. I'm going to have to change around what I was planning on saying. I am pleasantly surprised. I want to say thank you, first off, to the few of you who actually seem like you give a damn about our kids. Really, it means a lot. It really does. That we have some hope. And I wasn't really planning on focusing this on any one person until really I just saw what I saw. And basically what I saw is at every possible turn, there was really one person that had an objection to just about everything, and that was you, President. I mean, that was you at every single turn. It almost seems like you don't like children, to be honest with you. It really does. I mean, I didn't want to attack any one person, but that's what it seems like, and I'm sorry. That's my feeling. It really does. I mean, every chance that you had to turn down an opportunity to make them happy or give them something, you took the opportunity to crush it, you know? And then, you have other schools out there who are doing this alone, like it was mentioned, and they're doing this alone because they don't have any other support, and they're fighting for our children, and we're hanging them out to dry. You know what? And they might very well lose, but at least they can see that they fought. They didn't just roll over and didn't give a damn about their kids. I mean, it's just a terrible, terrible. I mean, if I was you, honestly, I wouldn't know how you guys sleep at night, to be honest with you. And again, I have to kind of change this around. One of the things that I find, very troubling is I keep hearing you mainly say that you have no choice, but to keep complying with the directives from the governor's office and the Department of Health and everything else. But just based on what I've seen, your behavior, your general lack of concern, it almost seems like you agree with all of them, really. I mean, I don't really get the impression that you think that they're wrong in the first place. And that's a big problem. It really is. And I can see the writing on the wall. We have the governor saying, 90 days, we're going to be flexible, even though we've seen no real metrics whatsoever on what flexible means. You got the FDA talking about rubber stamping, child vaccine possibly as early as Halloween. So what I anticipate happening is that sooner or later, we're going to have another mandate forced on us that's going to say that the only way children can remove their masks is if they have the injection, or you can't attend school at all unless you have the injection. I really want to know, I mean, what is your line in the sand? Really, like, when are you going to say enough is enough? I need to be a leader. I need to rally the troops. I finally have to stand up for these children, or are you just going to take everything that gets jammed on us? I mean, there has to be, and I'm glad that you guys agreed that you're going to add your name, or at least find out what we can do about joining the lawsuit. It's just step in the right direction, at least. I was surprised about that. I'm happy that we had a little dialogue. Unfortunately, I get to finish the rest, but hopefully somebody else will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Number 5? 5? Okay, at this point, if everyone, number 6? Okay, 6.
Don't worry, I'm not going to beat you up about masks right now. I have a couple questions, actually. I had sent an email requesting that it be read tonight at the meeting, and that there would be some answers regarding the homeschool children, and if they had, how many were enrolled this year versus last year?
No? Yes, hello. I have a 3-year comparison that I can offer you in the Board of Education. Pre-COVID, during 2019 and 2020 school year, we had a total of 65 homeschool students, and that's broken down by 29 elementary, 13 middle school, and 23 high school. The year of 2020, 2021, we had a total, it went from 65 to 107 in total. Elementary, 61, middle schools, 23, and high school, 23. And then this year, there has been a slight decline. The total is 85, so it went from 107 to 85. And the elementary count is 40, the middle school count is 20, and the high school count is 25.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And there was another part to it also as well, about the funding.
I'm sorry, I don't
Mr.
know.
Hauser, can you talk about the formula and how right now the formula is not a per-child formula for the State Education Department in order to fund us?
Just state aid in general? Yeah, so for the most part, if we just use attendance, student attendance as the baseline, within the district. It would appear to someone looking from the outside that it is based on an individual basis, but that's not how the formula actually works when it actually comes down to the calculation of the state aid. It's really on a different level than a per student basis. And I could get into the intricacies. It would take quite a while to actually explain how the state does the calculation for it. I don't know if we want to do that at the moment, but.
I don't need that here, but if I can get that emailed to me.
We can get that to
It's not a
you.
per child calculation right now.
Yeah.
It's, honestly, we probably couldn't tell you exactly how the state figures out how much they should give each school district. In fact, one of the things that we fight for as a society is to get the formula fully funded, because if the formula was fully funded per child, we get a lot more state aid. So right now, unfortunately, we're not getting that.
Right, no, I understand that, but I also wanted to know how it would affect staffing and such like that. But I'm surprised that you said that there's a decline this year. It's interesting. Okay, also had a question about, somebody over here was speaking about the Chromebooks. You mentioned that you haven't been charging the children for any breakage or anything like that, but I know that my son is a senior and he decided to come back this year. So I had to sign the contract that said that I would get charged for.
Right, so the only thing we didn't adjust was that student agreement. And because the insurance literally just came in probably at the beginning of this week, so we didn't have anything finalized. So instead of not having something, but we'll make that adjustment.
Okay, thank you. And one last question. When you had on here about the remote learning for quarantine, you had mentioned that there was an hour per day, Monday through Friday, where they would have arithmetic and ELA, basically. What about the other subjects? Because that's required.
So we're required to give 5 hours of instruction per week, and that's what we're hoping to provide, focusing on math and literacy as the primary pieces. But, I'm not going to say that we're not going to touch upon the other subjects, but that's the primary focus as we go forward.
I'm sorry, you said you're required for only 5 hours a week?
5 hours for elementary students.
Is that just regarding that remote learning?
It's a home instruction requirement.
Well, home instruction requires, what do we have, 180 days, 900 hours per year for elementary.
Home instruction is 5 hours per day. Sorry, 5 hours per week. I apologize.
So during the regular school, all the students, elementary students or homeschool students, are required to have 900 hours, but home instruction is only 5 hours per week?
Yes, that is correct. It's per the commissioner's regulations. They
That's what I was
see,
gonna say.
yes, they see home instruction as more intensive for one-on-one typically, or in a very small group. So the regulations require 1 hour per day for elementary students and 2 hours per day or 10 hours per week for secondary students.
And that's only for math and ELA?
Not necessarily. I think the idea for, at least in the secondary level, is 2 hours per subject, so it's typically 5 subjects. That's how I've seen it implemented. And for elementary, I think it's just more, it's really based on what the needs of the child are, what the curriculum is. So if Dean is saying it's math and ELA, then I'll go with what Dean is saying.
I mean, I agree with that too, that it's always those two subjects that are more, but.
Right, so it's, and right now we have low numbers of quarantine students, so, there will be probably additional supports that are put in place, but what we've identified as the biggest concern for our students, over the past year and a half with the interrupted education is the literacy and the math component.
Okay, thank you. And last thing that I am going to bring up is last board meeting, Ms. President, your son harassed many people in this room, well, in the high school, and for you to not address that, to lie and say he did not, and then to attack a mother on Facebook is so inappropriate, and we've all saw it, and it's disgusting.
Number 7.
Coming for your seat.
Hi. I had a question and a couple of comments. I was wondering, first of all, how much the special lawyer is that you were talking about seeking out?
As part of the getting additional information, that's the information I'll be able to share with the Board of Education, because we don't know yet.
Okay. And with regards to the phones, I mean, what we hear constantly is how kids need to get back to normal. They need to get back to normal. They're emotionally suffering. They don't get to socialize and whatnot. But now we're fighting to put their faces back in the phones. To me, it makes no sense. It doesn't fix the problems that you were describing before that kids are having. You know, letting them sit in their phones does not fix those upset or emotional type problems. Some kids like to be alone. Maybe they need some alone time. Maybe they're sitting by themselves at lunch because they want to sit alone at lunch. If they're not sitting alone at lunch, well, then we need to do like we always did with the kids. We try to teach them compassion, make challenges to go sit with that child who's by himself. You know, the phone is not the answer to these things. We go back to what we should be doing, what we should be teaching the kids. There are rules. School is not a free-for-all. You wear your mask if you want to wear it. You take your phone out when you want to take it out. You know, I don't understand where it's all going. They need structure. They need rules. They need to know right from wrong. You got to follow some of the rules, whether we like it or not. Got to follow it. You know, everything, even down to the Chromebooks. Oh, what happens if they drop it? Well, nobody's going to be crucified if they drop it, but I mean, kids just not that long ago were carrying 4, 5, 6 textbooks and AP books and this and that and backpacks and water. It's hard, and there are some that are going to struggle more with it than others, and we have to always make exceptions for that. There's always situations and reasons to change the rules and find solutions. But let's find solutions instead of making it a free-for-all. Here's your Chromebook. It costs a lot of money. Please be very careful with it. The same way you wouldn't, try to be very good with your phone and your textbooks. Don't lose it. Don't drop it. You know, there's rules. There's guidelines. I find it all very upsetting that I don't know. As parents these days, we're afraid to put rules in front of the kids. I don't know. I don't think it's good for anyone. So that's my comments. And the other thing is, I haven't been in here since it's been done. It's absolutely beautiful. Really nice.
It is. Thank you. Number 8. Is there a number 8? Okay.
Hello, my name is Sonia. I have 4 children in the school, all 3, elementary, middle school, and high school. I'm not here to talk about masks, but rather I'm here to talk about the lack of return to normalcy for our children, even with mask mandates in place. All around us, things are opening back up to normal. From businesses going back to normal, workers are returning to the office, restaurants are at full capacity, concerts, movies, street fairs, carnivals, and even parades are happening again. But for our children, they're little big moments, and many of the things they remember from 18 plus months ago are still being taken away from them. And not just by the state and the governor, even as they're wearing their masks. Before the start of school, I received the following letter from my elementary school. Open house will be virtual. There will be no visitors at the school. There will be no outside vendors or performers, including cultural arts. There will be no field trips. PTA events will continue in the same manner as last year. Why? It is. I have the paperwork to show. So let me, not to lose my time. Why are we virtually back to school? I mean, why is back to school night virtual? My understanding is that Sachem is having live back to school nights.
I'd like to know the answer to that when she's done.
But now, for the second year in a row, I will not be allowed to meet my child's teacher in person. My elementary children will not be able to proudly show off their neat desk and special letter or drawing that they left behind for me. They won't excitedly greet me when I get home and say, "Did you meet Miss So-and-so? Isn't she fantastic?" Okay? I will not get to sit in the environment that my children spend 7+ hours a day in. I will not get to walk the halls in the same schedule that my teenagers walk and truly understand what it takes to make it from one side of the building to the other in 3 minutes. But beyond my disappointment and frustration that there is yet another phoned-in back-to-school night this year, is the inevitable domino effect that this sets up for every other live event we are sure to miss out on again this year. No music concerts, no drama club performances, no district-wide art show, no assemblies, no trips to the one-room schoolhouse, no grade-level performances, no live in-person performances for the 5th grade circus, again, and no countless other live events. None of these in-person moments that make the school year special and memorable, and that our children and our parents look forward to. None of the little big moments. But don't worry, because football games are back, and track meets and swim meets and indoor volleyball games, and wrestling and cheer are back in full swing, indoor and outdoor, with spectators and all. So here's the message I get from all of that. If you're a kid that's into sports and Connecticut, don't worry, they have your back. But if you're into the arts or you're looking for another experience, there's no place for that here. I would like to know exactly what it will take to let our kids go back to their normal lives, even with the masks, okay? According to the New York State website, as of this morning, over 80% of the adult population in New York has received at least one vaccine shot. So suffice it to say, most of us are going to be vaccinated when we walk through the school, okay? That's just the numbers. And if in the building, we would be wearing masks the way we are right now. And this is still not enough to return back to normal. So what exactly will it take? I've heard what has been said. I've been told this, okay? This is just for now. We're hoping to open it up later on. Well, we were told at the end of last year that we would be opening the school back to normal this year. And yet here we are right now. Every parent in here has played this game before. Mom, can I have that? Yeah, maybe. Why don't you ask me again in an hour? We all know how that ends, okay? Last year, I asked over and over again to have the circus be a live performance for parents to watch. It was even brought up here at this board meeting. To the inevitable end of no. Even while numbers were dipping to all-time lows in New York at the end of the school year. Well, last year I didn't have a 5th grader, and this year I have 2. So, I will be here every month if I have to, until those little big moments are restored to all my children in the school, including the 5th grade circus.
Aren't they having fun this year?
All right, I would like to hear, Mr. Middleman, if you can answer some of these questions that you were just asking, or Dr. Adams. Because honestly, I thought that all this stuff was going back.
A lot of it is going back, we just don't.
Okay, so then I want to hear which are going back.
So I'll start with back to school night, because I think that's the one that's most imminent.
Right. I hope that that's going back to normal, because virtual is nothing like going to school.
So right now, it's not planned to be back to normal for the significant reason that the New York State, the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, as well as the CDC, says 6 foot between adults. And we have our children at 3 foot in their classrooms. There's no way to fit 6 foot with all the children's parents. If every single child's parent came, only one, they would be sitting 3 foot apart. And so with the safety issues in mind that we were dealing with, we figured that we would go with a live synchronous back-to-school night. That way parents could tune in. They could actually meet the teachers with their children sitting next to them. Oh, that's your science teacher? Oh, I really like her, kind of thing. And that way every parent could come whether they were vaccinated or not. And that way we wouldn't be worrying about the 6 foot apart.
Is there any way to add? Sorry.
Yeah, can I respond? I didn't want to cut you off, but can I respond to that? So how are other school districts, like I said, even Sachem, which is my understanding, which is our neighbors right around us, how are they able to go back? And if the kids have to be 3 feet apart, why do the parents have to be 3 feet apart? Again, we'd be wearing masks. Most of us, according to the numbers, are actually vaccinated. So I'm 100% sure I understand. I mean, I understand that the teacher would be 6 feet from the desks, right? If they're still standing where they're supposed to be standing at the front of the classroom, then they're still 6 feet from the desks and the students because that's what they're supposed to be during the day as well. So how is it that other school districts, and my understanding also is that Lindenhurst is actually, they're offering both an in-person and a virtual version of their back-to-school night. So they're only, 20 minutes away?
I'm going to have to inquire from my fellow ISUP chiefs. We actually have an ISUP chief meeting tomorrow. Most of them were texting today how things were happening, and I don't remember Sachem saying that they were virtual or not virtual, but I will certainly have that discussion with my fellow ISUP chiefs.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Linda, I was under the impression that they were doing a middle school play this year.
Could you do a play, but you can't do an open school night? This is like, I want to play.
But
I want to see
Can I
plays.
specify though?
I wanna
Doing
see
a play
plays.
or doing a concert that is virtual for parents, so you can have the play, but if I'm watching it from home on a screen, which maybe, I don't know that was the suggestion. I'm thinking that that's maybe a suggestion they came up with. Is not the same because the kids that are sitting there are not getting the accolades. They're not getting the one-on-one. The same way the volleyball kid wants their parents in the stands. That's not what I've been told is the way it's going to happen. But if you can't have back-to-school night in person and you're going to put on the performances, I would think the inevitable end would be, it's virtual, or some of the music things that happened last year, I think were Zoom like that.
I was told, and I could be wrong, but I was told that we were going back to normal we were going to have concerts. Am I wrong? Anybody? We were going to have concerts with people. We were going to have, and we were just told today about some of the different plays that are going to be taking place across the district. Please tell me that these are not going to be virtual.
So some of the information that she's reporting, it's an assumption based on what we have done last year and based on the fact that we haven't communicated out to parents regarding concerts and different things like that. Our intention is to have as many opportunities for kids pre-pandemic that is possible for us. So field trips, which I'm meeting with the elementary principals tomorrow to discuss it, we're going to allow field trips and with some, so there are things that we're still working through and still communicating about. We decided to focus on the reopening of school in the beginning and all those challenges that go along with that. Because we know that, the end of September, beginning of October is when field trips start. We have a little bit more time for concerts. So all of that stuff, we're planning to create as many opportunities as we possibly can, following the guidance in a safe environment, as we go forward throughout the year. So every activity, we're going to be evaluating to make sure that we can provide that.
And I want to trust that is what's going to happen, but like I said,
So
I don't have a lot of faith because, I've played this game with my kids before too, and
I'm not playing any games. So, and I've never said this to you or anybody else in the community before, and I have not followed through on things that I've said as we have, gone. I've been here 8 years. So
I didn't mean to accuse you of playing. That's not.
It's okay. I get it all the time. just please know that, we're looking at every situation and we're making decisions on a case-by-case basis to make sure that we can provide those experiences for our kids. So we have outdoor education trips that are coming up for a lot of our elementary students. We evaluated the trip, we evaluated the venue, we evaluated the busing situations, and we've decided that it is a safe environment for our kids to participate in. So they will be going on that. So as things come up, we approve the Rocking Horse Ranch trip, we approve the, what's the junior trip? A sophomore class trip. So those things that, we're approving those things.
So can cultural arts have assemblies back into the school? Like, for example, the circus requires, because the paperwork I got said no presenters of any kind, but the circus requires, the 2 or 3 people that come in to teach the kids the circus act. And in my elementary school, we ended the week on a Friday by doing the circus at the middle school, and it was always for, just the 5th grade and their parents and 1 or 2 other people.
So each of the events, we're looking at it on a case-by-case basis. So we're not up to the circus yet, but if there is a timeline that needs to be submitted, then.
Well, I just want to throw it out there, because last year when I worked on it, I work in
This is this year.
cultural arts. Okay, no, but I just want to throw out what happened last year, is that
I
I
know-
moved
I
our
know-
circus till May to try to get more leeway.
Right.
And then what I was told was, because some of the schools had already done the circus in January, it wasn't fair now to let some of the schools have parents come, and then some of the schools didn't get that opportunity.
All
So
right,
that's
I'm
why I
not
want to bring it
sure-
up now
I'm
early.
not sure who gave you that information, but, we try to provide consistency with regards to the safety level of the event.
It wasn't consistent last year. Last year, I know for a fact that our school did it with a video, and other schools did it in person. As a matter of fact, I think Marisol School did it. She's not here, or I'd ask her. I remember seeing nice pictures. They, I think, had more of a circus than, say, Cherokee, for instance. So this year, we will be advocating for the circus. That's my next thing. Now that you told me, I want to see a real circus this year.
Thank you.
Dean, so can I advocate to start the trips again at the Arboretum for the kids?
Yes, so we're, all of the outdoor education trips, all of the arts and education activities, the book fairs, the plant sales, pumpkin sales, craft fair sales.
They're coming back.
Yes, and we've been communicating with our building principals. Just please know it is a fluid event, and it is something that we evaluate not 6 months out, but we try to do it closer to the event to make sure that it is a safe environment for our students and our staff.
Well,
So,
the Arboretum is mostly outdoors.
yes, so we're looking to try to provide those experiences pre-pandemic, so.
What about bringing our PTAs back in for PTA meetings? Because I got to tell you, these Zoom meetings, we all know what I think of Zoom meetings, right?
So many of our PTAs have elected to continue with the virtual meetings.
Okay, but if a PTA chooses to do one in person and Zoom at the same time, will we be able to do that? Will we be able to afford them a place?
I don't want to steal Mr. Hauser's spotlight in this.
Oh, go ahead. Because I'm strongly advocating to give the choice to the PTAs. If they choose to go into the buildings and have a meeting, they can Zoom and live stream or whatever they want to do that works for them, if that works. I'd like to strongly advocate for that.
We are working on the final draft of our indoor and outdoor facilities use request and agreement. Last year, I believe it was just an outdoor agreement that the organizations had to sign, and they had to submit a safety plan that went along with it. As you can see, there's a lot of different types of organizations. This is the size of the participants that might come inside a building. So the way the agreement is set right now is we will be reviewing each organization's I'll call it application, and their safety plan to see that it can conform with the social distancing guidelines within the school.
Does that mean, now, have we allowed the whole time, I don't think we have, but have we allowed Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts? Because, I mean, those are children-centered. I'm hoping that those are like the first ones. To him? Dean, I like speaking to you, Dean.
I try to be like Dean, but as I understand from the elementary principals in some of the buildings, that the Girl Scouts and Boy Scout organizations have expressed an interest. They want to know if they'll be able to come in. Up until now, we haven't given that permission, but they have expressed an interest in being allowed to use the indoor facilities.
Is there any way that we could potentially expedite that, considering that's directly the children?
I would say so. It's just going to depend upon each one of those organizations being able to submit their safety plan, and that we can hopefully expedite the review of that plan, just to make sure that, like I said, it is in compliance with the regulations and the social distancing.
And we've provided a template to make it much easier for our facilities use to be reviewed. And the most important thing is the safety plan. The most important thing is the safety of the community. And, we were asked before about kids versus parents and adults being 6 foot versus 3 foot. And it's in all of the guidance that came our way. And really, we're just trying to do the best that we can to keep everybody safe. So the safety plan is going to have to include the monitoring of mask wearing and 6 foot separation between adults who are not in the same family for any kind of thing that is going to be adults within our building. So.
Okay, but can you at least get that out to the public? Because not everybody watches these meetings, and I really don't blame them, but I would suggest somehow getting that out, especially expediting it for the children, which is the, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, anything that potentially has to do with the kids to start, and then branch up to the PTA for the parents, and going from there.
Sure. So Mrs.
Sports,
Piano.
indoor sports for kids.
Mrs. Piano has the list of everybody who's used the facilities in the past, and she will make sure that they get that in an email.
Number 9? Is there a 9? Okay.
Winter workouts for the Little League and the basketball that we have usually at schools for the younger kids. Yeah? Okay.
Regular facilities usage, yes, that will be coming through Mrs. Piano's.
Okay, and you had commented on, the mother had commented on getting back to normal with the circus and everything. My son, on his junior year and senior year, lost out on his trips, special trips. His senior year, he was supposed to go to Italy, not any fault of ours. But my son this year is in 8th grade. I know they usually go on a trip and do something, and I would like for them to still go on their trip and have memories of school. He said that the ladies in the lunchroom are very mean, that the kids can't even talk to each other,
So I'm going to stop you just for 1 second, if you could stop. Here's what I need the community to do. I was about this time last year, and I truly beg you to do this. Don't wait for a board meeting. Don't reach out to board members. The best way to get things solved is to go to the person who can solve them on the ground. So if there's something happening in a lunchroom, it doesn't matter what building it is. The best person to talk to is the principal of that building, because he or she can then walk down and see what's happening in those facilities. The waiting and the going on Facebook to have that be part of the solving of the problem, I want your problem solved today. I don't want them solved 2 weeks from now. I want your problems to be able to be solved immediately. And the person who might do that might be the teacher. So making an email, contacting the teacher, writing an email to the teacher. If you don't get the response that you need at that moment, maybe we go to your guidance counselor or the YFS worker or the psychologist. Maybe you go to the principal after that. The truth is, the people closest to the problem can solve the problem the quickest. So I'm going to ask the community to
All right, but I want to use all as one. Don't keep passing the buck, okay?
You have to go to the place where the solution can happen immediately for you. And it doesn't happen immediately if you go on Facebook. It doesn't happen immediately if you go to the board. It's going to happen much more immediately by the person who can make that decision on the ground that day and change it that day.
Okay, so I'll just call Ms. Bailey and ask her, because she's very accommodating. But I would like to ask, how much money did we get from the government to implement certain items in our educational curriculum? This new educational curriculum that they have sprung. How much money have you received, our district, from the government?
I think you may need to be more specific. I don't understand the question.
The government has paid school districts to implement a particular curriculum. I think it's, they told me not to call it the CRT. They told me to call it the SEL or SEI. That each school district got millions of dollars to implement in our curriculum, whether it be math, social studies, English, this whole way of thinking. So did you?
No, we didn't get.
You didn't get no grant money?
We did not get grant money, and we don't teach CRT here. So I don't know where you're seeing that.
SEL. DEI. Yes, I said it wrong. I said SEI. I meant DEI.
Again, we have not received any grants for any kind of DEI initiatives. We do social emotional learning in the district. We have a very vibrant program, but we have done, because we're just you're saying the CRT, DEI, we have gotten no money to do either one of those, and we have nothing in our curriculum
And the
that's new from
teachers
that.
union has nothing to do with implementing it into the curriculum of our students?
No, because it's not part of the New York State curriculum.
I thought they implemented that in 20, I think it was 16. When Common Core came around, that's how they slid it in. So that's how it all had started. And then I heard that the school districts were getting millions of dollars in order. Okay, so, all right, next question. Last year, our children were virtual. We were shorted 135 educational hours to each child. And I would just like to know, with all of that monies or that whatever, where did all of that go to? That us taxpayers paid for?
I don't understand what you're asking.
Last year, when you cut the hours of the classes, no child's going to learn in 25 minutes. You cut down the classes to 25 minutes, 5 minutes to get in, 5 minutes to check in, and then what, she'd say just for 15 minutes, and then that's it, she was out. So I want to know what happened to the 135 hours that our children did not receive, but the district got paid for, and also the district got free food from the government also. So I know you handed that out, which was awesome for the families who needed it. But I just want to know what happened to that, the monies from that 135 hours that our students did not receive an education on. And they pretty much all failed. And then some teachers gave quick tests to get them to pass. And there was like A+ students that had 35s, but.
Time is up.
And Lee Kennedy?
Yes.
I would really, last month was horrible, okay? And I would like to know if there's a way that we can have a revote or a re-something, because obviously you're not for the children, and obviously you're for all of the government feeding your head.
First of all, I love the children, all of them.
I saw you.
You can say anything you want. I don't care what you say.
Town hall meeting too.
I'm not here to condescend to you. I love the children. I've loved them for 24 years. I care about them individually. I don't sit up here and be bravado, but I do things constantly behind the scenes because I care about your child and his child. I don't care what you say about me. I'm used to it. Don't you understand? I'm used to it. You just don't know me. You don't want to know me. You don't know what I've done for this district. 24 years, I've given a lot of community service. End of story. You can insult me all you want. I know what I did. I know what I've done, and I know what I do. Your kid gets great education because I cared.
My
Okay?
kid got an actual shitty education last year, okay?
No one got a great education.
He failed 3 of his classes, and then she just passed him along because of
Give
no
you
child
another
left
30
behind.
seconds to insult me, and then you have to sit down.
I just think we need to re-vote on some board members.
Okay, you can do that,
Wonderful
2
day.
years.
I apologize if some of this was addressed. I was at work, so I might have missed some of this. But I do want to ask, at the last meeting, we presented everybody with these liability forms that we, during the break, when we had 5 minutes, that everybody signed. And it was basically giving the district 30 days to present certain information to us, their license to practice medicine, signed parental consent to allow you to mask our children, giving you 30 days. You have basically until Thursday, September 23rd, to respond. Otherwise, it's cause for our children to be exempt from mask wearing. And I just think you should know that this will be presented to legal counsel if we don't hear anything. Along the lines of that, if our children do suffer socially, emotionally, academically, which we know they are, who in the district will be liable? It's not the parents. We do not consent to mask wearing and all this other stuff that's going on, that's coming from the government. And who out of all of you here is going to take the blame for that? Anyone? Any takers? It's not our choice. Okay. All right, so on another note, Title 10 of New York Public Health Law. It appears that there were amendments as of August 27th. Subpart 66.3 was repealed and Section 2.60 was repealed and replaced. The previous compliance schedule for these parts in Title 10 had no expiration date. I'm figuring that's because that was under Governor Cuomo when we were under emergency, state of emergency. However, now that that has ended, it changed. So there is a compliance schedule that states the regulations will become effective upon filing with the Department of State and will expire unless renewed 90 days from the date of filing. That filing was 8/27. Which means that that 90-day deadline will be actually, believe it or not, on Thanksgiving, on November 25th. Do you have any answers of how you are going to proceed as we approach that deadline? Because if things are going to change. Are you going to pay attention to that deadline? Are you going to fight for our children and look at the cases in the school, go to the state and say, hey, look, we're clear, we got nothing going on, and fight for us? What are the metrics? Are you gonna wait to that 90 days and see what they say? Or are you gonna use your own minds and say, look, we got nothing going on here, we're all safe? So somebody said 80% of New York has at least 1 dose of vaccination. I mean, what are we doing here? This is insane. So, I mean, we are aware of that 90-day deadline, and we're gonna be watching you to make sure that you do what's right for our children. You don't just keep following along. As far as all these guidelines and everything, on mask breaks, I'm not sure if they were determined through the district, class by class, but I would hope that you're watching the numbers and it's not so strict that you have to say, all right, this is what it is and stick to it. If the numbers are down, more mask breaks, lower numbers, more mask breaks seems to make sense. The other thing I want to address, I see I'm running out of time, is the testing. I think that was brought up before, but our policy, Board of Ed Policy 5420 does state, neither the board nor the district staff members are responsible for the diagnosis or treatment of student illness. So I don't know what you're planning to do as far as testing our children, whether you're going to stick it down their throats, up their noses, but you're going against your own policy. You are not in the medical profession. You cannot administer these tests to our children. We won't have it. I'm sorry, not going to happen. And I think that's it. Fight for our kids, okay?
It's time to stand up now.
Hello, my name is Giselle Borelli. I have 2 children at OBMS. I have some questions and some comments. One of the questions that I had today was, I think there was a woman who actually spoke about the SEL. It's about the CRISA Act and the allocation of the funding that we're receiving. I know that it was mentioned at one, Ms. Gail Santos mentioned that, endeared by it because she really believes in what it can bring to the Connecticut school system. I need to ask if at any point in time we'll be able to see the spending in detail with regard to the SEL and the framework. If we can post that on the website so all parents can see it. Speaking about the website, I'd also like to see the website updated for Connecticut. There's a lot of things that are not updated. With regard to the MS course guide, it's old, it's from last year. So I'd like to see what the children will be learning this year. Going back to the CRISA, I know that you also, Ms. Gale, spoke about the ruler program. So I'd like to also learn more about that and how it relates to the CASEL program as well. I'd like to see that connection. And with the information that is being used through the whole district. So those are a few of the comments that I had. As far as the Chromebooks mentioned earlier, one of the ladies did mention that, yes, the forms were signed when they were given to the students, saying that there was a fee if there was breakage. So yes, the students are scared if they drop them. And unfortunately, that's what they know, because that's what everybody had to sign. So I think that also needs to be sent out to the parents so the children are not walking in fear that they're going to drop their Chromebooks and they're going to break and then they have to pay for them. I'd like to see that updated. Like I said, I have 2 kids in the district. One of my children spoke at the last BOE meeting, and I have to say that things haven't changed for her whatsoever. Some days are better than others, but the night before school started, the anxiety just started to kick in again. And kids are afraid to remove their masks during their breaks. I think that teachers should, I mean, it's Common Core math, right? Take your mask off at every period. It makes sense, right? The teachers should just say that. Once a period, take your mask off. I don't know how long it is that they get their masks off for. That should also be detailed. The mask break, I don't know. It's 2 minutes for 40 minutes of instruction. So we need to take that into consideration as well. Make sure, ring the bell. Say, hey, guys, it's time for your masks to be taken off, right? One of the things that I hear quite a bit is the buses being crowded. They're crowded. The other day, I was standing on the bus with my kids, and I could tell you those windows were really steamy. They were steamy, and they were opened. So on top of the fact that the ventilation was there, the kids were breathing the same freaking air. They are crowded, and that's not fair. So once again, phones in the lunchrooms, absolutely. Absolutely. My daughter sits by herself, and she is lonely, and she does get upset. And the one thing that she looked forward to was checking out her cool videos so she can tell her friends about them when she got home, or even when she came home to see me. Mom, guess what I saw today? Because she doesn't get to talk to other kids. Because when she's in her mask, she tells me she feels like she's in a bubble. She says to me that throughout last year, she didn't get the help she needed because all she saw was a teacher's eyes, and they all saw her eyes and were unable to see the stress on her face. And that's the reality. She didn't get the help she needed. So for her first night of school, the week starting school, she cried every single day because she knew she had to come in here wearing her mask. And the thing she said to me, which I can't forget, was, "Mommy, if our teachers love us so much, why aren't they fighting for us?" And she just began crying, and all I could do was hold her. We're not asking for everybody not to wear masks. We're asking for choice. If you want your child to wear a mask, that's fine. But for the ones who have children with the IEPs and are suffering every day when we put our kids on the bus or send them to school because we feel like we're sending them to jail, it needs to stop. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, so at this time, I'd like,
Thing. I know, I swear, one thing is that somebody had brought up a point that I forgot about, the Remind app. Have we looked into the Remind app or doing something along the lines of like a bus route where the app where the kids' parents can see where they are or where that bus is en route? Is that something that can be done?
So I have asked Mrs. Pulliam, who is our director of a lot of things, but instructional technology, and she's going to get us a quote for what Remind app would be for each one of our buildings. And Mr. Hauser will be looking into that bus app because there's multiple different companies. We did look at it, I'm going to say 5 years ago, and it was very expensive, and the board at that time didn't move forward with it. But we will certainly bring a quote for you guys so that you can see what it might look like for us.
Perfect, thank you.
motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good night, everyone.